Moshe, is adopted by Pharaoh's daughter and he's brought up in the palace. He becomes the overseer of the palace until one day when he sees an Ish Mitzri, an Egyptian man, brutally beating a Jew, and he decides to get involved. He defends the Jew, and in doing so, he kills the Egyptian man. Word gets back to Pharaoh about Moshe's betrayal, and Moshe's forced to flee for his life. He's a fugitive. He ends up in Midian, where he meets the daughters of Yisro, Jethro, his future father-in-law. They're being harassed by some shepherds. He goes to protect them, rescues them, and waters their sheep. They come home, and their father Yisro says to them, "How'd you get home so quickly today? Record-setting time." And they say, "An Ish Mitzri, an Egyptian man, rescued us from the shepherds and watered our sheep." It's chilling. The Torah uses the same phrase, Ish Mitzri, Egyptian man, within several passages of each other to describe both the brutal taskmaster who was beating a Jew and Moshe, greatest person who ever lived. The commentators explain, in a fashion that I wouldn't be comfortable saying on my own, that due to this episode, Moshe failed to merit burial in the Holy Land, in Israel. He had the opportunity to identify himself as a Jew, and he didn't. And so he was buried outside the Promised Land. He could have said to Yisro's daughters, "Ladies, it was nice to meet you, and by the way, I'm Moshe Schwartz from Brooklyn." He passed up that opportunity. Contrast that with the earlier stories involving Joseph, who always went out of his way to make sure that people knew that he was Jewish. His master's wife described him as an Ivri, a Hebrew. The wine minister described him as the same way. No matter the situation, the circumstance, or who was involved, he always made sure that people knew that he was Jewish and proud of it. He merited, unlike Moshe, burial in Israel. His bones were taken up from Egypt and buried in the Promised Land. One commentator says that we learn from this story involving Moshe that if you overhear a conversation and it's become obvious that people in the room who are talking about you don't think you're Jewish, you have to correct them. You have to say, "Actually, I am Jewish." Maybe awkward, maybe uncomfortable, but you've got to represent the Jewish people and make it known that you're a Jew. Many years ago, a very well-known celebrity, early in his career, I don't want to say who because maybe he'd be embarrassed if he heard reminders of what perhaps was a youthful mistake. He was being interviewed on the David Letterman show, and Letterman asked him, "What's it like being a Jew in your profession?" And he turned to Letterman and he answered in Pig Latin, "Dave, ixnay on the uj, nix the Jew." He could have said, "That's right, I'm Jewish and I'm proud of it." And instead it was, "Nix the Jew, change the topic, I don't want to talk about that." Nowadays, you never know when you might be in the wrong place at the wrong time and do the wrong thing. It gets captured on video, and then the internet sleuths track down your identity and who you are and that you're Jewish, and you will have misrepresented the Jewish people. Or you could be in the right place at the right time, do the right thing, and similarly, they track you down, find out who you are, and it goes viral, and you get all this fame and praise. Why not share that praise with the Jewish people? Burnish our reputation. Instead of nixing the Jew, make sure to always properly represent your Jewish faith and heritage.
Erzähl mir, Alter, erzähl mir geschwind, alles hat Sinn. Wie seht euch das Stadtamut, sie blieb noch das Bein.